Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm here, and it's that time yet again. Another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. And as always, to do this show, I need the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman, Josh Hill. And Josh, it was a pretty busy weekend in the realm of mixed martial arts, and it'll be another one this week, which we'll get into. But we had ourselves a pay-per-view UFC 265. I guess before I get into that, first of all, how was your weekend, Josh?
It was good, man. It was good, nothing crazy, but yeah, it was good. Enjoying good weather finally. It's been raining. Like all July was rain.
It's been a very disappointing summer. Not a lot of time to have fun at the beach or your cookouts or whatever you would normally do in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. So August so far has been good. But yeah, enjoying the sun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, enjoy it for as long as you can, as we said off air. Before you know it, in this province, in this country, that weather switches quick, and it's cold for 6 more months and whatnot. But yeah, so let's just focus. It was UFC 265 this weekend, Josh. A card headlined by the worst of the worst interim title fights in terms of the reason to have the interim title. Not so much talking about the fight. But all in all, that was the highlight of our card. Ciryl Gane, Derek Lewis for the interim title. And I don't know if it was the moment that was too big for Derek Lewis or anything like that, but wasn't the performance I was expecting or much of an effort. But for Ciryl Gane, this is a guy that, we've known for a long time, especially if you've been following the Canadian scene where he fought in TKO and won his first ever title in his first ever fight, that this guy had the potential to be a champion and one of the best, I think to me, after this performance, one of the best MMA heavyweights of all time. And all in all, he wins the fight in the 3rd round and is now your interim champion.
Yeah, man. I remember exactly seeing him at TKO, and I said, this guy's going to be something special. Just you don't see a heavyweight move with such agility and lightness on his feet, and athleticism, and also power. I don't think it was so much. It wasn't a Derek Lewis like non-effort or anything like that. I just think it was a bad matchup for him, man. It was somebody that it was faster, that technically was probably a better striker as well, more athletic, better cardio. Overall, all-around skill set better. The only thing I think Lewis had on Gane is power, landing the big shot. And when he couldn't do that, when he couldn't get his timing, he couldn't get his range, had trouble with the reach and distance. You could just tell him getting more and more frustrated every round. And ultimately, it was just kind of like it was either going to go like that for 5 rounds or it was going to eventually be stopped like it was. You know what I mean? So I just think Gane was just, moves too well for a guy like Lewis that does well when guys plant and throw with them,
Well, one, he also wasn't afraid to mix it up. Once he kind of figured out Derek Lewis, he was willing to get in there, throw the big shots and see what Derek Lewis can do. And obviously Lewis's game plan was, I'm going to throw the big bomb, and if it's going to connect, that's going to be the fight. And, he's kind of fought like this for a while where he doesn't have much of a strategy other than I'm hoping this punch lands. And, 9 times out of 10, it has worked, but he didn't really try to set anything up. And as you said, Gane, he came in so much lighter. He had so much better footwork, so much better balance too. Like when they got in the clinch and Lewis looked for the takedown, just the ability that Gane was able to switch his feet and turn Lewis to get him up against the fence to do his work up against the fence in the clinch. I was just so impressed about it. But to me, you get a heavyweight with that cardio, that level of striking, this guy looks and he's only, 10 fights in as a pro. He's got a lot of potential to be one of the best heavyweights of all time.
Yeah. It's early to say that kind of stuff yet, but yeah, for sure. His skill set is, we've been saying that since we saw him in Canada, man. He's you don't see that very often. Guys move that well. The last big heavyweight, not a big heavyweight, the last heavyweight we've seen move like that was probably Kane, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It came was more, boxing, wrestling based, where Gane is a lot more, that kickboxing style based. But he has jiu-jitsu too. We got to see some of that, and his wrestling looks pretty decent too. So it looks pretty well rounded, man. And yeah, that's somebody that's 200. I think that's a great weight for that weight class, like 245. He's not like at the super high end where they tend to be a bit slower and a little more sluggish, and he's not undersized either. So he's at that perfect weight, and he's, like you said, cardio is there, speed is there, power is there, and he's smart. You know what I mean? He knows how to fight, knows his range, and there's only one way to lose to a guy like Lewis, and that's staying in that pocket, staying in that danger zone. And why do that? He played the perfect game plan and just kind of picked him apart and waited for his timing.
Well, I thought for sure that Gane used his range to his advantage. He was the taller, longer fighter. Use your Muay Thai, use your kickboxing that you have as an advantage. I was on a show after the pay-per-view ended, and I think a lot of people were coming from a boxing background, and Derek Lewis was as well, but like he doesn't really set anything up, doesn't use a jab or anything like that. He was kind of using head kicks to be the lead into the big punches. And I was kind of been asked to ask you, Josh, as someone who does this for a living, like obviously there's a difference between boxing and MMA with setting up the jab, but why doesn't Lewis set up a jab, or is there something he could have done to help maybe try to lead in Cyril Gane?
I would like to. I would definitely like to see that more. I think, especially a guy like him who, when he touches people with his big shots, they go to sleep, right? So he gets so reliant on that, and it just, when he knocks somebody out too, you just like you get that in you. You just want to keep doing that, but it is the setups that usually create the knockout shot, right? So. I would definitely like to see him on his jab more, moving more like that. But that's just, not his style, and I think it's somebody also that tends to kind of worry about his cardio, you know what I mean? So he doesn't like to push that pace and doesn't like to up his volume in strikes because he thinks that'll kind of drain his gas tank, where he more, kind of pot shots and waits for the big ones and hopefully they land and knock him out, which usually do.
Do you think, though, like, there was a lot on Derek Lewis here because, like, the card was kind of built around him. He's fighting for, an interim title, a title nonetheless, in his hometown. Like, that's a lot of pressure for a guy that's, sure, he's had a shot at the title before, but, you already compliment, fighting for a championship that he was considering the championship in your hometown on a card that is kind of sandwiched between, you're coming off a McGregor card and now you're coming off like the return of, or the next month in September, Nick Diaz and 2 other title fights. Like there was a lot kind of riding on Derek Lewis for helping with the live gate here and pushing pay-per-view.
Yeah. I mean, nobody knows how that affected him except him, you know what I mean? So judging just from his character, probably not. But who knows? Maybe, you let that kind of creep up on you. And I think also he's a fan favorite, and to the UFC fans, he's has more notoriety than Gane does. So maybe, with that, it's a lot of people expecting him to win more so. So maybe that put a little bit more pressure on him if he accepts it like that. But yeah, man, I mean, it sucks for him, because he had a second crack at getting the title and came up short again. And it's always sucks to lose in your hometown, right? It's the best thing ever to win there, but it sucks when you lose there. So, but what are you going to do, man? I mean, I'm sure he probably got his best payday thus far, and he's still a fan favorite, and he's still dangerous.
Well, always is dangerous and always will be a fan favorite just because of, I guess, how real he is as a personality and whatnot. But, I mean, when you look at the output and strikes, like Cyril Gane landed like 96 to 8 significant strikes in that fight. I mean, that's a crazy output and just, I guess, once again, continues to show how talented of a heavyweight Cyril Gane is, which now brings me to my next point is we at some point, I don't know if we'll get it at the end of this year or early next year, but we got to have a title unification fight. But I don't know, like I kind of have this feeling that maybe the UFC is going to forget about Francis Ngannou a little bit. I know they're talking about lines up perfectly. These guys were former training partners, even though they were like barely together and whatnot. They both have a connection to France. And UFC is not going to go to France right now, especially with the state of the world. But like, if you're Francis Ngannou, you're a guy that was kind of insulted, one, about the idea of having this interim title when he just fought in March and was the champion. And two, like, if you saw the open of this show, they were basically saying Ngannou's not fighting tonight because he's on vacation. He's dicking around, basically. Like, I'd be a little insulted about that. Like, this is a guy that still wants to get paid what he feels he's deserved, and I understand that, and I support him in that cause. But I just don't. This is the fight they have to make. Dana seems stoked about it, but how soon do you see it happening, Josh?
I mean, it just kind of depends on that when they come to terms with something, you know what I mean? But yeah, it definitely like just like shitting on him big time, you know what I mean? Like, and the winner will fight this person, Ngannou, when he's ready, you know. Yeah. And it just is like, you know, he just guy doesn't win it, and they're making it sound like, I don't know, but they're just kind of putting the pressure on him, you know what I mean? They're making it. They're trying to probably get the fans to turn on him, and the reason he's not fighting, the reason he's holding up division is because he wants more money, which to the public, you know, always sounds bad. You know what I mean? Always sounds worse than it is. But if you know anything about the sport and whatnot, you know, especially at the highest level, you know, it's always about money. So I don't know. I think they possibly can get it done maybe like December, something like that, if not early next year. And we'll kind of see what happens there. But yeah, of course, the UFC and Dana they're going to play it up like it's. I mean, it is a great fight, but it's you know, they've made it this way.
I mean, yes, it's worked out for them. Obviously, I mean, Dana's even quoted the post-fight presser was like, even Vince McMahon couldn't script this as well as it's worked out. And don't get me wrong, it's worked out. At some point, they will figure this out because like Dana's had his disputes with fighters before, even in this division. Like Randy Couture was the heavyweight champion coming off beating Tim Sylvia, and then there was a contract dispute, and you know, Brock Lesnar eventually got the fight once they brought Randy back and for the actual heavyweight title. But I mean, they're going to get this together, but it's a give and take type of thing in these deals. And the UFC is ones not a lot that don't like to give a lot. They like to take more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the history of this whole sport. You know what I mean? It's always, there's so many contracts. Look at John Jones' situation right now too. You know, so there's always going to be issues. And some are rightful, some maybe not, but most of the time they are. And yeah, dude, it just, I don't know. I guess you have to know the exact numbers to see who's telling the truth and whatnot, and who's kind of. But I remember seeing that. Remember we talked about before, the manager that kind of called.
Yeah, Dana out. Yeah,
and said like, I'll show you the texts, the emails, everything. You know, that'd be interesting to see what kind of comes, if anything came from that, or if something does come from it. But yeah, it like just pay the top guys. You know, we're not asking for like the whole, you know, billions of dollars here, million. You know, just what a good fair share. I think that's it. You know what I mean? Like you see the numbers, you see how much they're making. That's the issue. It's not like the money is not there. It is there.
It's just their stance right now of, oh, well, we don't have to pay you or whatnot. And I mean, it just goes back to kind of everything we've talked about the past couple weeks. But I mean, the UFC literally from March on could have potentially made John Jones, Francis Ngannou for like this summer, which would have been one of the biggest heavyweight fights of all time. And now you have thrown a wrench in your own, you shot yourself in the foot. Like, no offense to Gane, but now he's in there. You have to put him in the next title fight. Like, I want to see what Gane can do, but I think the public and what this sport's driven on is the big money fight is at least maybe summer of 2022 away.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've been hearing that Stipe is going to fight Jones now, possibly. So I don't know if there's any truth to that. I mean, it's still an awesome fight. You know, and it sucks for Stipe too. You know, I mean, I feel for him in this whole situation. You know, for him with Ngannou, like, you know, they're 1-1. You know, there could be a trilogy there. I know, you know, he knocked him out in the second fight. But you know, he even said in this case that, you know, DC got a trilogy with him. You know, so why can't he get it? Which he has a, you know, and he has the most title defenses of any heavyweight. So it's not like he was a one and done type guy. So he has a case there. So, but who knows, man? Like, I understand that the UFC is a promotion, they're a business, so they have to, and they're an entertainment company as well. So they have to do things that they feel is best to make them the most money. But at the same time, there has to be some type of, there's a balance, like everything in life,
For sure, there's a balance, but like this is a company that normally would try to work through it and make those, the Ngannou Jones. That's like the no-brainer, because now you run the risk, like from what I saw from Sorogan on Saturday, like he could beat Francis Ngannou and could just fight a smart fight. Ngannou, while he's improved on the ground, I would give the advantage to Gon. And Gon's just got a smart fighting IQ that can, wear and just chop away at you and just put you away in the third round. And then there goes any hope of that big money fight. And Stipe could beat Jones if that was a fight to be made. Like, that's the risk you take by blowing this up.
Yeah. And to be honest, Gon and Francis fight, I put my money on Gon.
Same with me.
I just think he's technically so much better. You see Ngannou when he throws, not the most technical guy, but he just gets away with it because he's such a freak athlete and so powerful and strong. But I think Gon fights way too smart, for that kind of stuff. So I think he'll like you said, use his distance, his range, his IQ, his footwork, his movement, and he'll stay very defensive and just kind of chip away and probably maybe get the finish in later rounds, or if not, win a decision. But yeah, then that screws everything up if you want the big John Jones fight, right? So yeah, man, who knows what's going to happen? But I think with the introduction of Gon, it just threw a wrench in that whole thing,
I mean, that's just, but they could have had Gon, kept building him up and whatnot if they wanted to. Like, he's coming off a Volkov win, but they were the ones that decided this interim title needed to be made. So that's like one of the rare promotional malpractices that I've ever seen from the UFC, where they just were like, we got to do a title, we got to do it in Houston. We're gonna screw out on our money right now. I mean, we all know that Ngannou said he wasn't going to be ready for August. He just wanted another month in September. The UFC said no. So, I mean, UFC, I just can't believe how bad they've handled their heavyweight division when they, in March, looked like they'd finally figured it out and had a monster potential star in Ngannou. Yeah,
for sure. Like, they finally had that kind of that big name with a big, like they talked about like Tyson esque, when he fights you, it's like just so powerful, So yeah, that's crazy. And they could have just made this fight a number one contender fight, They didn't have to.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing, They could have made this matchup fine, but it did not have to be for an interim title. That's just stupid.
Yeah, I don't understand the UFC's logic that every pay-per-view has to have a title or something on the line. Like, you don't necessarily need a title in every aspect of it. Like, for next month in September, I know we have 2 title fights, and they're going to go, one title is going to go as the co-main, the other's in there. But really, like, the draw for me and most people in September is the 5-rounder Robbie Lawler, Nick Diaz. They could put that as the main event, and that would honestly be more intriguing to a lot of people than the 2 title fights. Like, everything doesn't need to be a title fight for pay-per-view. It makes sense, sure, why not? Sometimes you're stuck in a bind where the title you have available is one that's maybe not the most appealing, but you're just selling on, there's a title fight on the line. But yeah, I agree with you that this should have been probably a number one contender fight, and we didn't need it for this interim title. But now the UFC's put themselves in this situation where Gon's got a strap of gold around his waist, and now you have to come to agreement to try to unify the belts.
Yeah, for sure. Now you get just more to deal with now, and also with less value. As we said, it just kind of waters things down, and this guy's an interim title. He's the real champ. And then, it was like the thing with Tony Ferguson and Gaethje and all those, and they had interim belts going on there. And it just doesn't really, I don't know. It just, it makes it less special of a thing, And as far as like like you said, the Diaz and Lawler one, that I'm more excited for that than any fight this whole year. Any title fight, anything like that. So that, to me, that's my main event. I don't really give a shit what else is there. I'll watch them, of course, but that's the one I'm focusing in on. So yeah, it doesn't always have to be about the belt, man.
I know that's just a UFC mentality that every title fight, every pay-per-view needs a title of some sort or whatever. But I mean, I guess that brings me to my next point. Like, I thought the pay-per-view itself, the main card, was a good card. Like, if it was a fight night, that'd have been a great fight night. But charging $70 for this, that was rough. But like I said, this card's sandwiched in such a rough spot. You're coming off McGregor, and then you're going into 266 with 2 title fights and Nick Diaz return, where like September's to me worth $70. Obviously, July's worth $70. This one wasn't, but I mean, hardcores are going to watch it regardless.
Yeah, there's some good fights, man. I mean, I'll tune in anytime Aldo's fighting, man. That's
yes.
He's the legend, right? He's the best, and he looked great. He looked good, man. And I'm happy for him. Like I said, I have the WC nostalgia, so any
WC forever.
Fights, I'm always cheering for them. So, but he looked great, man. I can't believe how he's been around for a long time. He's only 34 or 5. You know what I mean? It seems like he's like 45 just because of how long he's been around. But yeah, he looked great against a very tough, durable cat in Munoz. Not an easy fight at all. And so, yeah, I'm happy for him to get the win, man.
Yeah, I think, you know what? For Aldo, this is a guy that had kind of written off, or a lot of people had written off after the McGregor loss. A lot of people had written him off, though, after the McGregor loss. Like, he can't really do it anymore. Or, oh, man, that's going to be such a tough cut to 135. And he's proven us all wrong. I mean, this guy's, I think since the McGregor fight, like 4-4 or 5-5. And McGregor's like 3-5 as a fighter since that point back in like December of 2017 when they met back then. But, I mean, Aldo had vintage Aldo moments in there, throwing the leg kick and the combination he threw in the 3rd round that really, for sure won him the fight, even though I think he was going to win anyway. But like battered Munoz with the great, 1-2. Like, this was 2008 Aldo at moments in the fight. Like, the guy's just, as you said, a legend, and I really put these lighter weight classes up for grabs, and I know he's getting up there, but I would love to see him in the mix for whoever wins between Jan and Sterling. Give him another shot.
Yeah, of course. Like, it isn't like I said, he's only 34 or 5, something like that. So he's still not, old. You know what I mean? He's still in his prime years. So, but it's more so how he looks, and he looks great, dude. Like at 35 too. And that was a big. People that wrote him off after McGregor are just idiots. He lost in 12 seconds or whatever, and obviously emotionally charged and made an error. But the cut down to 35 was kind of like, oh, I wonder how he'll do here, just because I remember I trained out there in Brazil when I first started fighting. I was like 2-0, and we had to train him out there and meet him out there. And I remember him saying like how 45 was such a huge cut for him, and it was so hard. But like, he didn't look overly that big, you know what I mean? So I was always like, oh, I've seen way bigger 45ers. And then, when he said he's going to go down to 35, I'm like, okay, maybe, he can actually do this. But I just wanted to see how he would look. And so far, man, even in the Jan fight, he looked good early in it. You know what I mean? He did look great. And then, Jan's just so tough and durable, and beat him up as the fight went on. But yeah, he's looked good, man. And I'd like to see him, in that number 1 contender to kind of slot us in that top 5 there, and maybe fight like somebody like I just think Dominic Cruz fight would be the best one, because it's
WEC forever.
Yeah, that one gets me going, and I think Aldo beats him, to be honest. But yeah, anyone in that top mix there, like a TJ or a Sandhagen or something like that.
No, for me, it's the Cruz one, just because they're both legends of that. Cruz obviously of that weight class, but Aldo's really starting to grow his legacy at 135 from what he did at 145. And when you look at what Aldo's done since dropping down to 135, like, he should have won the Marlon Moraes fight. Like, let's be real, he should have won that fight. I'm
a big fan of Aldo, and obviously I know Marlon very well. That was close. A lot of people are like, robbery. I
don't think it's a robbery, but I thought he did enough to win the fight.
You could say that it was very close, but I remember like watching. I'm like, I kind of leaned towards Marlon, but like I said, very very close fight.
Well, then, okay, after that, like, he is one of those guys that gets a title shot after a loss. And as you said, he looked great against Jan up until it got to the later points. And, the referee let him take 10 million shots that he didn't need to take as the fight was closing. But, since then, he put a good performance against Chito Vera. And then now this performance here against Pedro Munoz. Like, he's proved everyone wrong. And just seeing, like, on the embeddeds, like, how much respect this guy has and is being treated as a legend, like, why not give him another crack at a title shot or the Cruz fight or something like that to continue to grow his legacy?
Yeah, well, those that don't see the work that he's done are either just tuning in now, or they're McGregor nut huggers that only care about that and have seen him beat him. You know what I mean? But yeah, we just, like, I remember watching him before I started training. You know what I mean? And I like when he fought Faber, when he fought Mike Brown, and all those guys in WC and Cub when he did that.
The 8-second title eliminator.
Yeah, man. I'm like, I feel like that's why I said I feel like he's way older because I've been watching him so long. But he just, because he started so young too at such a high level. But yeah, legend
in the sport. And yeah, to me, it's either give him one more crack at 135 title, even though I know there's a lot of contenders in that division, or the Cruz fight. Like, why not have this WC tribute kind of fight with the best 45er from the WC now at 135 against the best 135er in WC history. I mean, both guys would love it. It would be an awesome headliner for a fight night card towards the end of the year, and I think both guys would be up for it.
I think so. Why not? I think it's a great match.
Absolutely. I mean, on this card as well, we had we talked about the most interesting fight, I think, on the main card was the welterweight fight, Vicente Luque, Michael Chiesa. And this fight delivered, then some. For a one-round fight, it had a lot of drama, a lot of intrigue in it. Like, Chiesa shot in, got a takedown very easily, which surprised maybe some people, but he was able to use his wrestling and then took Luque's back, and I thought, this is done. He's going to be the first guy to finish Vicente Luque, but, in those scrambles, you leave that little bit of error, you leave your neck out there, you're going to get caught, and Luque caught him in the Darce choke and tapped him out, and as Dana White said, he's now in the mix for a shot at Kamaru Usman. Yeah,
man, that was crazy. When it was definitely like striker, grappler. I mean, Kessa's got good striking too. He's well-rounded, but he wants to take this fight to the mat, and Luque, the opposite, probably wanted to keep it on the feet and look at the knockout. So I don't think anybody would have bet on Luque for a submission win in this one. But yeah, Kessa got the nice takedown, took the back, like everything was picture perfect. And then you could tell, like, he got a little high and he switched to an arm bar, and you could tell he wasn't going to get it. And, instead of kind of transitioning and just standing back to your feet, he took that split second and kind of came up to his hands and knees and waited for that little second. And that was all it took for Luque just to shoot in that Darce and lock it up. And that's when, right away, either you're in on another shot scrambling, or you're right up to your feet, or if somebody starts, front headlock and you're fighting the hands right away. But, props to Luque for locking that in so quick. And that's all it takes, man. And little millisecond, thinking error there, and it cost you the fight.
It was such an impressive performance and such an impressive run that now continues for Vicente Luque, a guy that's, hit a couple Darce chokes in the UFC. I mean, he got a Darce on Tyron Woodley in his last fight too. So, I mean, he's moving his way. And I thought as well, like, you get a big win like that, you're kind of in the mix. You go out there and you make a statement post-fight on the mic too, where he was pretty much ignored whatever question Daniel Cormier asked him. It's like, look, I know Kamaru, you're fighting Colby later this year. I think you're gonna breeze by him, is pretty much what he said. But after that, I want to fight you for the title. And I know we're friends and whatnot, but we got to put that aside. Use your time wisely after a big win like that, especially on a pay-per-view. Yeah. Well done, Vicente Luque. I mean, even Dana thinks now he is in the mix potentially after this Colby fight for the winner of Colby Usman will probably maybe now fight Vicente Luque.
Yeah, why not, man? Put himself right in that position there, and yeah, utilize your time to kind of make some use of your microphone time and call somebody out and try to get the biggest shot you can, which is the title shot. And yeah, you can tell when a guy you can tell with him too, a Darce choke is something that's kind of his go-to. You talk he got it with Woodley. Some guys just have that move that they go to, and it's boom, instantly they just grab it. You know what I mean? And you could see just boom, locked it up right away, and and roll with it. A lot like Jesse Arnett. He likes to go for that one a lot. Every time he grabbed the darce, and he's finished so many guys with that. But yeah, you can tell that's his move, man. And he dominant on the feet. You've seen his hands. Now he's got some great slick submissions. So man, he's the total package.
And also, like, never been finished in the UFC, and now on a 4-fight win streak inside the UFC. Hasn't lost since November of 2019. So
Who
definitely
did he lose to that?
He lost to Wonderboy Thompson on that card, the 244 card with for the BMF title as the main event. Masvidal and Diaz. But yes, I mean, hey, and you're losing to guys like that. Like, you're definitely put yourself in the mix and continuing this win streak. So good for Vicente and use of his time, and even got a response back on Twitter from Usman. So he's definitely got the attention of the top welterweight, and as well the head man in Dana White.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that Division 2 is kind of like, you have Colby fighting the top, and then after that is no real clear-cut person, so put your name there.
Exactly. We and then had Tisha Torres kind of really, use her strength and just have such a great performance, great striking output, and just had her way against Angela Hill, winning like a unanimous decision, 30-27. I believe it was 30-27 across the board. And yeah, just one of the best performances I've seen from Torres in a long time.
Yeah, she looked good. Used her speed, her striking, mixed up her takedowns well, and just it wasn't like it was a domination. It was just she beat her every round.
Exactly. And then we kicked off the card with another bantamweight fight, Song Yadong and Casey Kenny, and this was a good back and forth fight. I thought Song looked fantastic, getting his striking off and finding ways to just be first and, up against a very good Kenny. It was a split decision win for Song, which, some thought was insane. I actually scored the fight for Kenny. I thought Kenny did enough in 2.
Really?
I thought Kenny did enough in 2 to take the second, and I gave him the third as well. But I did, man. That's how I saw it.
Watching going forward, getting hit. Is that what you're seeing?
Hey, well, I'm not like the guy that scored the Fazeev fight, the third round for him, when he was definitely getting killed by Bobby Green.
That one, yeah, that as well, man. But yeah, no, I had it. I heard split. I was like, what? I had someone in the fight, and that's even without being a guy I trained with. I just thought he won the rounds, but like Kenny, a tough kid, and kept coming forward, but just I think the Song was landing way more effective strikes, and his takedown defense looked spot on.
Yeah, it really did. It was able to keep the fight standing as much as he wanted to. And I think Kenny as well. I mean, I know he's got some good submissions in wrestling, but he's kind of just wants to bang his past couple fights, whether it's the now Song and then the Cruz fight, where you got to be you can't go in there and rush and try to throw big bombs. You got to fight the tactical point style fight and try to outpoint someone like Cruz, which doesn't really work out when that's his game plan.
Yeah, no, with a guy like Cruz, you don't want to, do that. You want to take away his weapons. Chop his legs hard. Kind of set up traps where he's going to be, not where he is. But yeah, I mean, he's tough, durable. Those are 2 losses to 2 very good guys, top guys. So it sucks, but I think he'll be back.
It's a good win for Song too, because we talk about that this bantamweight division is just getting deeper and deeper, and UFC's kind of marketing Song as like the guy that could be the next champion from China. I think Song needs a couple more fights before he could get in there, but that's a statement win against someone that's as durable and talented as Casey Kenny.
Yeah. I don't know what the rankings are and whatnot, but like I said, we never go by those anyway. But he should be. Yeah, Song should get like probably top 10 guy now.
Yeah, and then we finished the prelims off with that awesome lightweight fight between Rafael Fazeev and Bobby Green, just back and forth kind of a fight where Fazeev took the first 2 rounds, and you could see it was starting to fade as the second round was coming to an end, and Bobby Green has underrated cardio, was able to just put it on Fazeev, and I think if he had if we had another 2 rounds, or if we had more time in that third round, he may have found a way to drop Fazeev and found a way to get a draw or something. Could get a 10-8 round, but very good performance. But yeah, that was the fight where we had a 30-27 for Fazeev, which was pretty much the lone head scratcher on this card.
Impossible. Like how I have no idea how somebody could score that third round for anybody but Green, man. Like it's insane. I just don't get it. Like that judge should be. I mean, thank God they got it right. You know what I mean? The actual result, but yeah, man. But on that fight though, that was a crazy fight. You know, to keep that level of intensity up that whole time, the output from both guys. You know, the cardio was insane. Very, very fun to watch.
Like Fazeev, to me, shows that he's going to be a player at 155. You know, give him a couple more big kind of names in that division, which is another stacked division. But like for me, Bobby Green, this guy's been in the UFC for a long time, but he's like, even before that, grinding away. Like he fought on the second Affliction show. Yeah. Like that's how long this guy's been in the game, always delivering solid fights. And you can see why, like, he sticks around. He puts on performances like this, and he's coming off like his best year in 2020, where he had like 4 fights in like 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, shit, dude. Like some people reach their prime at 27. Some people reach their prime at 36. You know what I mean? It just kind of depends, dude. And as long as you can do it and keep doing it well, and then he showcased. I mean, he got a loss, which sucked, but it was a great fight and showcased that he could still hang there with the top guys in the world. So,
well, as we talked about with this fight, though, Josh, obviously everyone was disgusted to see the 130-27 Fazeev scorecard, but that judge has actually released a statement saying why he scored the fight 30-27 for Fazeev.
What did he say?
He gave his reasons for it. I can post it in here. I haven't had a chance to look it out, but nonetheless, while we don't agree with it, at least we're getting a judge giving clarifications on why they scored a round that most people think is so insane to score it that way. At least we're getting their reasoning on that.
I would just like to see the reasoning and whatnot of like, oh, I just thought he was the better fighter. You know what I mean? Like some bullshit like that, you know?
It was a long statement that actually came out here. Let me pull it up right here from said judge.
Who is it anyway? Does it say his name?
It was one of the judges that was actually also reffing that night. That was JJ Ferraro.
Okay.
So he was also reffing. So he's one of the local Texas judges that Texas always, throws in there and whatnot and get situations like this. But it's a very long statement, Josh. I don't know if we have enough time to get into it, but he's basically talked about, he scored it that way on the unified, rules of scoring and whatnot. But
what are the unified rules of scoring anyway?
I think he's more talking about, hey, he thought Fazeev was Green. I don't know, because I don't think anyone could see that Green was coming forward and landing the more strikes.
Yeah.
I'll definitely post it in the description but I just like at least a judge is at least trying to giving his reasons for it instead of just we can't talk about commissions or anything about their statements or their scores.
Sure. Yeah, you're right. Like that, at least that's something good. Like holding some accountability, to who the judge is and explaining a crazy result, or I guess round anyway. But yeah, they should, if something like that. Like, yeah, you never hear about it after. You know what I mean? It's always like, oh, well, this judge had a crazy scorecards. They weren't there, and then that's it. Next week you forget about it. On to the next one, and that judge or judges just ruin some guy's, payday, some guy's career, some, you know what I mean? Like they threw a wrench in everything. So yeah, it's good to have some accountability, and at least they're stating reasoning.
We need more of that because, as you said, it seems like the commissions are just at such a place in the sport where they just feel untouchable. You can't criticize them. You can't do anything said about them. They can give you a horrendous scorecard, and we just have to, we got to live with that. Yeah. But nice to see at least, some clarification and more clarification of that. I know when I spoke to Kai Kamaka, who's probably dealt with the biggest robbery, I think, this year on one of the fight nights where he was totally robbed of a unanimous decision. Like he wants, maybe the judges or the commission have like a little post-fight presser. If the fighters had to do it, why can't they?
Yeah, for sure. I agree with them totally. And I think there should be open scoring where after the round, boom, you hold up red, you hold up blue of who you think won. And then you're like in the open of 25,000 people or however many people are there, and you're showing who you think won, and like they can be like, what the fuck, what's this guy thinking, or that's the right call. You know what I mean? So again, not a job that I envy because it is hard. You know what I mean? But there's some calls that are just so crazy. You know what I mean? So those are the ones that we got to get rid of, right?
And I think that's what some of these commissions, like with open scoring and whatnot, are trying to do.
Should be 5 judges, not 3.
The 5 judges, yes. I mean, I've heard that before. I know Dean Thomas wants like 7 or 8 judges out there scoring as many judges as possible.
So many. You can only put so many around the goddamn cage, right? So I mean, the more the better for sure, because you get a better result, I think, overall. But I think 5 is enough. I mean, look at like figure skating and shit like that. There's like 10 judges. You know what I mean? But yeah, I agree. More judges is better, but I think 5 is enough.
5 is enough. The next show name for an MMA themed show coming to Netflix or something like that. But yeah, all in all though, Josh, like that main card was, a lot of good talking points coming out of it. We crowned a new interim champion, but I thought the undercard had some good fights. I mean, Jessica Panay looked fantastic, the first round submission against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Manel Kape got finally a win in the UFC, a big guy that they signed from Ryzen a couple years ago. Only guy that missed weight, though, so I thought it was funny when he was screaming, "Give me the bonus!" And Daniel Cormier had to be like, "You're ineligible for a bonus because you missed weight."
Yeah, man, make the weight, dude. That's huge. You should bigger penalties. We've talked about this many times on the show. So, but yeah, bigger consequences for the weight miss. And yeah, for sure, no bonus eligibility. I think that's fair.
And Miles John had a big knockout over Anderson Dos Santos on the prelims and got himself a bonus out of that. So good performance by this great up-and-comer in Miles John.
Yeah, that was a beauty, nice left hook to the liver, boom, came over the top and overhand, like perfect combination. And you could see the power and torque he put into it, and very nice knockout.
It was one of the better like body head combos I've seen in MMA.
Yeah, dude, that's like that was pure like, he just textbook style when you're teaching that kind of shit. It just he dropped, hit to the body, kind of dropped those hands down and came right over the top on the opposite side. And when you load up, when you hit a left side body shot, you load up your right. If you're pivoting your weight properly, so you put all that weight right back in, and that was you seen the result.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was UFC 265, a rare dark week for the UFC this upcoming week, which gives us room for, Bellator and PFL on a Friday night together, head to head, which, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but hey, we'll see who wins out or gets the eyeballs. And, Saturday and Sunday, there's more MMA, a big weekend for Canadian MMA with the return of Unified on the Saturday, and then our show, BTC 11, on a Sunday, the rare Sunday card for us.
Yeah, that's it's different, that's for sure, the Sunday fights. But hey, we'll take anything we can right now in the state of Canada. You know what I mean? So it's good to be back again, and can't wait to go to Alberta, man.
Hey, it's check the weather. It's going to be hot.
Yeah,
just like the fights are supposed to be in Alberta on this weekend.
Yeah, and having a crowd there, actually calling the fight with a crowd and no masks and all this crazy nonsense. So it'd kind of feel some normalcy.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to get out there. I mean, this Unified card is a big card for them. They got 2 title fights. Their featherweight and their light heavyweight titles on the line. They're having their first ever female fight as well on that card, and it's like the debut for them on Fight Pass. So another top Canadian promotion out there on Fight Pass is just a win-win for MMA in the country right now.
Yeah, and it's for the Alberta fighters, it's just to have opportunity for 2 shows in one weekend, Saturday and Sunday. That's it's pretty rare to see that. So it's great. I'm sure a lot of fighters are chomping at the bit to stick it on the card, and if one card kind of overflows, there's that, I'm sure a lot of fights kind of come into the BTC cage too. So a lot of opportunity for fighters, that's for sure, which is great.
I mean, we talked about this back before BTC 10, but it's kind of nice to see these promotions working together. Like we'll have a show Saturday and then you have the Sunday. And if we got to, like, as you said, if we got to offload a fight from our card, you guys can have it. Like, I think at this stage, it's the sport's getting back to the regional scene here in Canada. Like, why not work together and help everyone put on a good card to make the sport healthier?
Yeah, and that's cool, man. Yeah, you never seen that in the early days of MMA, and anywhere really, especially in Canada. But it was cutthroat. You know, this promotion was going against this promotion and whatnot. But yeah, it's nice to see that. You know, we saw it with the BFL in June, and now we're seeing it with Unified here in next week. So it's cool to see that, and it's good for really everybody, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, our card, we got, a couple vets that know each other, Tim Smith and Matt Krako in the main event. So that should be, excuse me, a real good fight. And the thing I'm liking about these BTC shows is a lot of young up-and-comer prospects that I think, give them a little bit more seasoning. There are going to be some players, fighting on a contender series.
Yeah. We talked about that last card, and this is kind of more of that in this card as well, with some more vets added into the mix. But yeah, these are the fighters that we'll see, kind of build up and become something in this MMA landscape in Canada over the next 5 years.
And as well, we got some amateur fights, Josh.
Yeah, which is pretty cool because here we don't have that.
No.
It's kind of, we don't have a amateur commission or whatever, that kind of got kiboshed. And so, yeah, a lot of the amateur fighters here, which I have a few of them, have to go to Quebec or they have to go to the States to fight. But in Alberta, it's pretty cool that you can kind of do a pro-am show. Yeah,
and I think, if you've been paying attention to like some of these promotions in the States, obviously where they don't have the issues that Ontario, like CFFC, their first 4 fights are amateur fights, and they call it like the next gen series, where you graduate to get on as a pro on these main cards. And I think that's just the model a lot of these promotions are taking, and it just works. You start off with the Amis, and then you can see them grow from amateur to pro in your promotion.
Yeah, it's a great way for the fighter to obviously get the experience and build the confidence and build the skill set. But it's a great way for the promotion to build future stars. You're kind of loading up your roster, and also you have the footage. You can use all their footage in amateur now to build them up when they turn pro. A lot of times when you have guys come fight, whether it's their first fight or if their 5th, 6th, 7th fight in your promotion, you don't have anything to really show on them. You just kind of do the pre-fight video stuff like that. But with this, at least you can use their footage and say this is his amateur stuff. Now he's making his pro debut. So I think it's great.
I think it's great, and hopefully Ontario can get the amateur side figured out, because I know all those promotions just want to run either an amateur show or like this kind of pro-am where you start out with the Amis and you build up to your pro show as the evening continues.
Yeah, Ontario is behind on everything in life. So yeah, it would be nice if they caught up and did something like this and see the good of it, and it can be easily done. It's not like it's some huge task, you know what I mean?
Well, no, I mean, the reason why we don't have it, I think, is dumb to begin with, because there's like an Olympic committee or something along those lines with it. So I don't know. It just, to me, the reason why we don't have AMI in Ontario isn't right. There was an old guard in charge of it, which thankfully they're not there anymore. And I think the commission is working hard to get it. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'll call him out here. I'll say his name, Ken Ayashi. He was the demon of Canada and MMA and just a piece of shit, to be honest. Like he was the reason why MMA took so long to become legal here, right? So he created a lot of problems that are now having to be fixed, and it's kind of a process. The guys in there now that are actually doing a good job. So we're on a good path now, and thankfully that's all behind us.
And hopefully we can keep on the track to get the amateurs and more shows going up here, which, I mean, for BTC, they have 2 shows lined up in Ontario. So all willing that those shows get to happen. I mean, I know that's kind of out of the commission's jurisdiction of if it gets to happen or not, but let's just have some good thoughts, some prayers, knock on some wood that nothing stops these from happening in September and November.
Let's hope, man. I mean, I'm going to be optimistic. I don't want to be pessimist about this, but just seeing the way things are happening, I'm hoping for the best, man. I'm hoping everything, goes smooth and we're good to go.
Happy thoughts. That's go to your happy place is pretty much the way I'm
That's
going
it.
with them. But while we have a little bit of time, though, Josh, as we said, Friday, PFL and Bellator head-to-head. Bellator has their middleweight title on the line with Gerhard Mousasi against John Salter. But the PFL playoffs, though, Josh, they begin at 170 pounds. Main event, Ray Cooper III and Rory McDonald.
That's a good one. This is a fight that I think they won in their finale, I think.
They did, but then, judging kind of interfered with that.
Yeah, so see what the repercussions are. Now we got your hope to be, have the top two guys at the end. Now they're probably going to face each other and eliminate. One that's going to be eliminated to go to the finals. And that's I mean, obviously I'm going with Rory. I just think he's has the fight IQ and the wrestling will probably be, on his side, but Ray Cooper's got that power, scrappy, tough. He won it last year, did he not? Or
he
no?
won it. Yeah, he won it in 2019 when they had the last season.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's a tough one though. That's a good one to watch. Yeah,
to me, as you said, it's a very interesting fight. As you said, they wanted it probably to be their final, but a Gleison Tibau decision victory over Rory McDonald kind of threw a monkey wrench in that, but thankfully it didn't ruin like Rory being in the playoffs or anything. Like that would be an absolute nightmare because PFL needed one of these big UFC ex-signees to make it to the playoffs. If you couldn't get it with Pettis, you needed Rory McDonald there. The other semifinal, though, Josh, did get flipped because who was it that was supposed to fight? João Zeffirino, who was the other guy that qualified. He had to pull out. So now Sabadou C, who I guess had enough points to be the alternate now in this spot, has a chance to win and potentially fight for $1 million come October.
Yeah, man. That's great. That sucks for the Zeffirino. Was he the guy? Who was the guy that beats? No, I'm thinking of the wrong guy. The guy that's a different weight class. I'm thinking of the guy that beat Pettis the second time.
No, that's a different guy. That's Roche Manfio.
That's it. Okay. Zeffirino's a different guy. But yeah, it's I mean, I guess that just kind of goes to show you with when it's kind of. I know it's not a tournament here, but now it kind of is. You know what I mean? And if you're an alternate, there's still always a chance. You know what I mean, to get in there.
Sabadou C could be the 1994, the 2021 version of Steve Jenham back at UFC 3.
That was I think in Steve Johnson, but Jenham, that was it. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we're Harold Howard representing Niagara Falls at UFC 3. Shout out to Steve.
Come on.
Yeah. The highlight of Canadian mixed martial arts at that point in time.
That guy was
or no holds barred or whatever the hell they called it back then. It wasn't even MMA at that point. But yeah, we got Alex Martinez is on this card, a guy that is really worked his way up and had a good thing. And Canadian Olivier Aubin-Mercier getting his second fight in the PFL. Unfortunately, didn't have enough points to make it into the playoffs, but one of the other, another signing that they got in that I think is going to be doing wonderful things for the PFL come next season.
Yeah, he was supposed to fight Nathan Schultz, and that got scrapped, right?
Yeah.
That might be good for him. You know what I mean? That's a tough fight for him for sure. I don't know who the guy's fighting now, but yeah, I mean, good opportunity for him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's fighting, UFC vet, CFFC vet, Daryl Horcher. So he's making his PFL debut.
I heard the name before, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's our PFL show. I mean, it's nice to see that the playoffs are starting to go. Kind of doing this thing where it's like Friday, Thursday, Friday for the next 3 weeks, which, whatever, bouncing it around all over the place. But, hey, PFL getting their playoffs underway. As we know, it's a shorter season. Unfortunately for me, they're not doing it on New Year's Eve, the championships. It's in October this year. I love that they were doing it on New Year's Eve, but obviously that must be a logistics nightmare putting on a show on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it's got to be tough, man. I mean, the only shows that do that are the Japan shows, man.
That's because it's just the different culture of what New Year's Eve is in Japan than here, where North America, everyone wants to go out and spend too much money to go to a club that could, spend much less the following night for the sake of it. But in Japan, they just want to stay home and watch TV. I like how Japan thinks. That's the way to think. Japan 10-8 round over North America on that.
Yeah, New Year's to me has always been way overrated, and for me a perfect New Year's is house party, and have the fights on there. You know what I mean? Drinks, food, everybody there. Perfect. That's it. You know?
Go home at 11, just spend the hour by yourself or something like that.
No, the fight's on at the party.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm a fan of that. Unfortunately, we don't get to have that this year. Maybe next year. Hopefully hopefully they get that, because you know what? As much as it's a nightmare to do logistically and whatnot, I loved it. They did 2 years of it. I thought it was actually kind of becoming a tradition. I know you're competing with some other events, other sports, and 10 million channels doing, hey, look at the ball drop, let's relive the year kind of specials, which seem to do okay numbers, but yes, obviously not. But hopefully 2022 they can do it again there. But then, as we kind of wind down here, Josh, Bellator, as we said, Mousasi Salter. I'm going Mousasi here. I'm happy to see Salter get a big opportunity like that. A Bellator OG kind of guy. Yeah. But Mousasi, I think, has just got a little bit too much experience.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Salter said he's kind of like good everywhere, durable, tough, has skill everywhere, and has worked his way up. Been in Bellator for a long time. But I just think Mousasi is just going to be too much for him. And I think he'll get this either a 5-round just kind of dominant decision, or he'll finish him, 3rd or 4th round.
But the top 3 fights, obviously we just talked about the middleweight fight, but you got the return of Andrei Koreshkov against Saba Homasi. To me, Saba's coming off like the best fight Bellator's had this year, against Paul Daly in the daily weight class, which was just a rock'em sock'em kind of robot fight. Nice to see Koreshkov come back, but as well, pretty much number 1 bantamweight contender fight in the Rafael Stotts Magomedov fight.
Yeah, obviously I'm pumped to see that one. I don't know, man. That's a tough one to call on who's going to come away with that. Obviously I've been in there with Stotts. He's strong, durable, he uses his range well. His wrestling's good. But Magomedov, obviously his wrestling's top notch as well. His pace is high. I don't know, man. I'm just intrigued by that one. That's a tough one to call. I'll take Stotts, gets the decision win, but it's a pick 'em.
I think it also kind of maybe helps Stotts, giving him like the extra 2 weeks to prepare, because this was supposed to be on 263 a couple Saturdays ago. So get a little bit more time, get a little bit more prep in, use as much time as you can. I'll lean with the Magomedov here, but I can see Stotts making an interesting fight, because when he fought you, when I saw him on camera, that's a tall 135er. You don't see 135ers that tall.
Yeah, he wasn't. I think his hair makes him. He's got that, that afro-ish, hair that kind of makes him look tall. But he was definitely a big bantamweight, that's for sure. Like, you could tell. Obviously a long-time wrestler. He's very big for the weight class. So, I don't know how big. I've never seen Magomedov in person. I don't know how much, how big he is or whatnot. But, yeah, man, both the guys have great wrestling. So that's what's going to be interesting about it. You see, like, Stotts uses his range. He's got long-ass reach, which gave me problems. And Magomedov likes to throw all that, the Russian-style spinning shit. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. On the ground, grappling-wise, both guys more top position guys, so it's an interesting fight.
It's definitely an interesting fight, and as we've said, it's kind of like a number 1 contender fight. And Stotts
be really, looking at the matchups, like Stotts is, they were talking about number 1 contender when we fought. You know what I mean? So I think he's 3 or 4-0 in Bellator now. So, and Magomedov I think is 2-0. So yeah, I think this has to be number 1 contender to fight Pettis, and if Stotts wins, then depending if they actually do fight each other being teammates, I don't know.
Yeah, that's I think the interesting thing is if it is a number 1 contender fight and Stotts does win, then they both said they'd fight each other, but that just throws a whole awkward, weird dynamic at the gym and anything like that.
Yeah, that happens. Rufus, like it's like, who do you corner anybody? Probably not. You're not gonna. I don't know. That's a tough one, tough call.
The other fight, I guess, to look forward to, I think, on that card is another bantamweight fight, and Danny Sabatello, Johnny Campbell. Sabatello, who's coming off like a last-minute replacement win over Brett Johns, and Johnny Campbell in his Bellator debut looked, real fantastic. finding a way to beat up get a second round submission over Henry Corrales. But like Campbell was supposed to fight on Cage Warriors.
Yeah.
Had his opponent pull out. Then he was apparently supposed to last minute jump on that XMMA show. Couldn't get anything fall through. Then Bellator's like, here, you want to fight Sabatello? To me, this is a fight of a real good prospect in Sabatello and a guy that's paid his dues in Johnny Campbell finally getting a good shot here in Bellator.
Yeah, I'm really hoping Campbell beats the shit out of this guy, just because this guy talks like he's so like bad and whatnot, and then you watch him fight, man, and like the guy, I don't think he threw a punch against Brett Johns, man. Like he just literally shoots in, grabs a low single, drives you to the cage, and literally puts that seatbelt in the back and just kind of rides a hip and just stays there for freaking the whole round. And you get out, you go right back to it. And his wrestling is great. He's a good wrestler, you know what I mean? But that's literally all he does when he fights. And just try to hurt somebody, you know what I mean, when you're in there. And Campbell's going to do that. He, like he said, he's a tough, durable vet. But he is very sloppy with his shots. When he punches and kicks, he doesn't really set a lot up, and he's off balance a lot. So I think Sabatello will capitalize on that and probably just grind him out and probably get a decision. But I'm really pulling for Campbell.
So if Campbell doesn't win, Josh, are you calling your shot here? You'd like to fight Danny Sabatello at some point?
Yeah, he's just not a fun guy to fight, though. You know what I mean? You're just defending a takedown and then constantly doing that and just trying to get a guy off of you. He's going to press against there. So it's not really an intriguing fight. He's not going to give you anything. You know what I mean? There's nothing there to really. Obviously, I like to knock him out. You know what I mean? But he's not a fun fighter to watch, and he probably wouldn't be a fun fighter to fight. But it just the way the guy talks, like he's just so good, but you don't do fuck all in there. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I like to punch him out. Yeah, for sure.
Well, maybe we can get the gentleman and the Italian gangster signed up.
Italian gangster. Man.
That's his nickname, the Italian gangster.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, he beat Brett Johns. Like I said, just out wrestled him. But and Brett Johns is tough opponent. So he definitely has skill. It's just the way he does it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's how Dana White felt about his style because Sabatello was on the Contender Series last year and he wrestled too much and couldn't get a contract. So has Bellator come in and scoop him up. But I think Sabatello is a solid prospect, and if he just got the striking going, he could be complete. I'm
sure he has striking. He
doesn't have to use it. So
but you can use it with your wrestling too. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. And just put it together a bit. Even when you can wrestle all you want, and when you take a guy down, try to hurt him, pound him, give him some ground and pound. You know, and make it, some excitement there instead of just riding him out.
We'll see what Campbell can do if he can, if he stuffs a takedown or if he gets taken down, what he can do off his back or whatever position he can find a way to, buck the hips and work in half guard, whatever it may be. I am excited for that fight because as we talked about many times, 135 in Bellator is probably their more key division, even though their top guys at 145, even though now McKee's talking about, what do I got left to prove at 145? And I'm like, no, Bellator, you got to find a way to get someone for him to stay at 145. You just can't have him jump to 155.
Yeah, I know. They got to utilize him at least one or two more times in that division and get some big fights there and then maybe possibly go up. But, it's too early to jump up.
Absolutely. He needs one more fight or two. And if you want to do – if he were to go up at 155, as we said last week, and fight Pitbull for the 155 title, okay. But, he just won this featherweight title. You kind of want him defended a couple times to really create the superstar that is AJ McKee. I
think it probably adds more intrigue that why he wants to go up because that guy holds that title as well. He just beat him. You know what I mean? So he's like, oh, I'm going to do it up there too. So I guess that's where it's more appealing. But yeah, if it was just somebody else, then maybe another fight or two, then you would have maybe challenged for that person. So I could see that. But yeah, I would definitely I would like to see that fight again at 55 for sure. But I would like one more at least at 45.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same wavelength with you. And last thing, Josh, I promise, before we go, I don't know how much Olympics you watched during the past 2 weeks that was on. But did you see the final of the plus 75 kilogram karate match where the Saudi Arabian fighter was up 4-1 and he landed a head kick clean on the Iranian fighter and knocked him out and was disqualified, and the Iranian fighter won a gold medal off getting knocked out?
Oh, I seen the video of the guy get knocked out, but I didn't know the circumstances behind it. What that's really so you can't kick in the head. Is that what it is?
I believe what it is in Olympic style karate, you are supposed to control your strikes, never to hurt, to land for just the art of the point. And I honestly thought that was the stupidest thing ever. That'd be like losing the World Series because Joe Carter hit a home run.
I mean, like, that's just, I mean, that's, I don't know. That's where you get point fighting. It's so crazy. You know what I mean? To me, but like, you knock the guy out. I think that's what else can you do? It's a perfect shot. You know what I mean? There, you just did perfection. But I mean,
exactly. But I will say this: Karate Combat. I don't know if you watched any Karate Combat, but they're already trying to make this rematch happen. They already have the gold medalist under contract, apparently, which I didn't know. So now they're trying to get.
Is this the one that Robin's doing this stuff for?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I've seen a couple.
So they're trying to get this fight made, and good on Karate Combat for just acting right away, trying to make this fight happen. Yeah. Be probably the most intriguing thing to watch. Name wise and whatnot with some of these guys. But shout out that, like, that's how you hustle and try to get your brand out there. Yeah. Like, this happens instantly on social media. We're trying to make this fight happen. We're trying to sign the silver medalist to make a rematch under our proper rules where if you knock someone out, you win.
Well, strike where the iron's hot and it's still memorable in people's minds. You know what I mean? If we try to make it years from now, then you got to kind of bring up the old past. But if you do it quickly, it's still very fresh in people's minds, so you can kind of bank on that,
Yes. Also, Karate Combat, fantastic. Love this. Love what they're doing. Kind of a
fun. I haven't got to see much, but I've seen, like I said, Robin, a few of his clips there. But it looked pretty cool,
especially the pit they fight in, and like they kind of, I guess, green screen all their fights, so they can just like pretend to transport to any generation. Like the last episode that I saw was they were in like 80s Hollywood.
That's what I saw, that one, yeah.
Yeah, where they're all like boss and the commentator are dressed in like leather jackets and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. And I mean, they have the coolest little layout with this pit. So shout out to Karate Combat. It's a fun watch on YouTube as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely tune into more of that kind of stuff. It sounds cool and looked cool from what I see.
All right, Josh. Well, I've kept you long enough as we broke down all the happenings from UFC 265, previewed Bellator and PFL, and of course our show BTC 11 and Unify 40. So a big weekend ahead for some of the up and coming promotions here in Canada, and these top promotions like PFL and Bellator on a rare UFC less week. Yeah.
I mean, lots to talk about, and this upcoming weekend should be good, man. I'm pumped for it.
I am pumped for it as well. Well, Josh, last thing, plug yourself out there on Instagram where you can see some great memes about, chicken wing sauce and whatever it may be out there. So you plug yourself out there on your Instagram where you post all the memes.
That gentleman J Hill, man. As always.
All right, Josh. Well, have yourself a good couple days. I'll see you out there in Edmonton. And we'll be back in 2 weeks because, we're traveling next Monday home after BTC. So we'll be back in 2 weeks to break down all the happenings in mixed martial arts. So for my broadcast partner, the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill, I'm Jason Agholm. Peace out. Have yourself a good rest of the week, everyone.